Hey everybody, it's the Beardy from the Beardy and the Baldy channel, bringing you the second movie in my top 13 countdown. So it would be, I guess, number 12, counting down from 13 to 1. Last week we did Empire Records, and this week is another 90s comedy. And this is a great movie. I was introduced to this I believe it was my sophomore year of college. My suite mate, so two rooms sharing a bathroom. So it was four guys, two guys in each room, bathroom shared, whatever. All right, I'm explaining this here. Anyway, my suite mates were a couple upperclassmen and really cool guys. And one of them, Dan, was another big movie buff. So I was, a couple years into really getting into movies at this point. And he'd asked me if I'd ever seen or heard of this movie, Grosse Pointe Blank. And I was like, I have not heard of Grosse Pointe Blank. So there it is. Number 12, Grosse Pointe Blank, starring John Cusack, Minnie Driver, let's see who, Alan Arkin. Alan Arkin's, not quite a cameo, but he's very, very minor role in this. Dan Aykroyd, John Cusack's sisters, two of his sisters are in this as well. And this movie cracked me up. So we popped this in the DVD player and watched it, and it instantly became one of my favorite movies. It is, I guess it's from 1997, and it is directed by George Armitage. I can't think at the top of my head other movies are drawing a no pun intended blank in my mind at the moment, but this movie is hilarious. So John Cusack is an assassin. He's a paid hitman who is invited back to his high school's 10-year reunion. So you get to see this guy who is a cold-blooded assassin go back to his high school reunion in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and it's hysterical. There's just so many great one-liners in this, moments that will just go off in my head at certain points. If I'm going about or doing certain things, it's just, I can't even think of them all. There's so many. One of the best ones is his mom. He goes to visit his mom. Now, these are going to be slightly spoiler filled. I won't give away everything, but he goes to visit his mom. This is the first time he's been home since he left on prom night. So he disappeared before graduation. And, he's kind of, I guess, a bit of a local legend in that regards. But no one knows what happened to him. No one knows where he went. And he flat out tells people up front he's an assassin at different points in the movie. And they all joke with him. They ask if he gets good dental or, oh, it's a good growth industry and all this stuff. And, no one takes him seriously. And he still gets in all sorts of trouble. And it's just him kind of reevaluating, is being an assassin the right thing for him? Does he want to keep doing it? Of course, there's a girl involved. The girl he left on prom night that he never showed up to pick up. And it's again, like Empire Records, there's so many things that are kind of in the moment, of the moment, but the story is kind of timeless. It is really awkward watching this movie now and looking at the cell phones and things. And you think about any of these movies that are set in recent history, how different they would be with modern cell phones. How different would things be? And it's kind of funny. You see the old, the full-sized computer monitors and the codes coming up and everything for, it's supposed to be interesting. Because computers were still, internet was still fairly not new anymore. It wasn't like a new toy, but it wasn't that old for public consumption at that point. So they could still get away with tricking people with things that weren't quite the way computers really worked. Anyway, so yeah, it's him, and Alan Arkin plays his therapist. Now, my first introduction to Alan Arkin is in The Rocketeer as Peavy. But in this, he's so great. He's so underrated, and he's just so cut dry delivery on all of his stuff. It's fantastic, and he doesn't want to be. John Cusack plays a character. His name is Martin Blank. So he doesn't want to be Martin's therapist or his therapist or whatever, because he's like, I have, an emotional connection to you. And Martin's like, what kind of emotional connection do you have with me? And he's like, I'm afraid of you. You told me what you do, and I'm terrified you're going to murder me. And he's like, I'm not going to murder you. And it's just Alan Arkin. He's got such a small role in this movie, but it is priceless. Minnie Driver is great. She's got such a fun, quirky personality in this movie. She's DJ back home in the same little town, and he comes to pick things up with her, and she's not too happy about it, but she does it in a playful way. It's really fun, and Dan Aykroyd is Grosse is his name, who is a fellow assassin like John Cusack, but he's trying to organize, he's trying to make, a guild, a union, if you will, of assassins. And Blank doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And half the movie is Grosse coming after him because he's coming after Blank because Blank took a job that he'd originally turned down. So it's this kind of whole twisty-turny thing, but it's a lot of fun. It's really funny. It's definitely a dark comedy. Jeremy Piven is in it briefly. I'm drawing his blank. Again, no pun intended on his name. He's Abraham on The Walking Dead. His very, very, very small role as kind of the meathead jock friend that Martin knew when he was in high school, who thinks he's got to pick a fight with everybody. Gina, is it Elfman from Dharma and Greg? If anybody watching this remembers that show, she's got a small bit, and a couple other little cameos that are really nice, a little fun, and but it's just a really good movie. It just makes me laugh. The story is pretty solid all the way through. It's a little bit ludicrous, but if this guy was real, it doesn't seem like it's that far fetched. To way things go down. There's a fantastic scene at a convenience store. Again, I don't want to spoil too much for you because there's just a lot of really fun moments in this. Circling back, one of my favorite lines in the movie is Martin goes to visit his mom. His mom's in a home, and like a special care home, and she kind of forgets who he is at the end of the scene. And she turns around and sees him, and she's like, "Oh, you're a handsome devil. What's your name?" And he later repeats the line when he goes to open the job he took to see who he's supposed to assassinate. And I don't know. That's just one of those lines that just kind of comes back to my mind every now and then. If I get a piece of mail that I wasn't expecting, a package or something, I'll just be like, "Oh, you're a handsome devil. What's your name?" Or it's just silly little things that I find. Really funny. There's just all the interplay between Minnie Driver and John Cusack is great. As you believe they were a couple who had a relationship in the past, and just kind of the bantering they do off of each other is really good. And John Cusack is like surprisingly action hero in this movie. Lots of jumping around, leaping down stairs and railings, and gun shooting, and all sorts of stuff. So it's really cool. And Dan Aykroyd is great. He's just a cold-blooded killer. Like, he just wants to be the best at everything, and he's not even gonna let his old friend Martin stand in his way. So, all right, that's Grosse Point Blank. Funny beginning to end. Great soundtrack. A lot of really good music. 80s and 90s stuff in here. So yeah, check out Grosse Point Blank if you can find it somewhere, rent it, stream it, whatever. It's great. It was one of the first movies I also got introduced in college. I had some friends that developed their own John Cusack fan club, and the way you got into the fan club was you had to be present for 2 John Cusack fan club movie nights back to back. So you had to get in for one, and you had to be at the next one. And yeah, so it was just a silly little thing we did in college, but it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of great friends that I knew back in the day, and we still keep in touch somewhat. So yeah, so to all my John Cusack fan club friends out there from Evangel, hey, Dan, if you happen to see this, thank you. You not only introduced me to that, you introduced me to a lot of other movies, and you just always had a great time with you guys and everyone else. So this is just this week and last week's movie, Empire Records, were both movies I got introduced to in college, and it just really, really struck me and hit me in a way that they've stayed with me for almost 20 years at this point. And they will, and they have both strongly on my top 13, largely in part because of the movies themselves, but in no small part to the people who contributed to me discovering them and watching them with, and just enjoying the whole process of watching movies. Like, I love watching movies with other people, even if it's one I've seen a dozen times. I love getting to see a movie with someone who's never seen it before, or if they've seen it and they also really appreciate it. Just because there's just some, I don't know, I just get a different level of entertainment out of someone seeing it for this first time and seeing how they liked it, if they liked the same things, or what we like, compare notes and all that. So yeah, Grosse Pointe Blank is number 12 on my top 13 countdown. I'll be back next Sunday with another one that is going to be quite a different tone from these first two. So we'll see y'all next week, and I'll be back on Wednesday with my new comic haul for Beardy's Books. And I have a request from a viewer to do a tour of the Geek Cave, the Man Cave, the apartment, whatever. So at some point in the next week or so, I will get that filmed. I might even do it today. So there it is. Beardy's Top 13 Countdown, number 12. Grosse Pointe Blank, starring John Cusack and Minnie Driver. So check it out. It's really good, really funny. I hope you like it. If you get to watch it, come back here, give a comment, let me know what you think. All right. See everybody later. Peace.